Now, what I've been doing over the last few days is testing this setup with various RAM configurations until eventually I was able to get it to boot. Now, this is the board that was making the siren noise when we tried to turn it on. Simply taking everything out of it and booting it with just the Pentium II and a stick of RAM did the trick. Then I added extra hardware back in, and after getting Windows 98 installed, updating it with the unofficial service pack, and then putting the USB drivers in so that I could start accessing things through the USB port, I was able to find drivers for, that was supposed to be so much slicker than that, for our Banshee. Fantastic graphics card. I also managed to find drivers for our PCI 128 Sound Blaster. Slightly more complicated than I thought it might be. We'll go over that when we have a look at the card. I also ended up putting a network card in because thanks to the wonders of my shonky network, I'm able to run a power line adapter through straight to the machine. Obviously, I've not got this machine online. I'm not going to have an online Windows 98 machine on my network. It is denied from internet access by my networking setup by the router, but I was able to get onto it as a network drive, so I could dump stuff from my Windows 10 machine straight onto the Windows 98 machine, which was very, very useful for getting things working. So in this part, we're going to be having a cleaning up the parts that we have here, because this is going to be my final build. I have also very quickly arrived on eBay. I bought another stick of 128 RAM, so we will pop that in there as well. So we're going to have a total of 256 sticks of RAM in this machine. Now the other parts that we had from the last video, part 1, included, you may remember, an AMD motherboard with an AMD K6 processor, as well as a couple of extra peripheral cards. I've got another network card. I just used the one that, that looked a bit newer than the other. And obviously we had a scanner card as well. This, I'm not even going to bother. I'll probably give it a clean, just chuck it in the junk pile. I don't know whether or not it works. The various RAM sticks that we got, I think there's only one stick amongst this that straight up doesn't work, which I've marked with an X. And these sticks appear to work. They just didn't seem as stable as just having the one stick of 128. So with 320 meg or whatever RAM it worked out, these are 64 sticks. I wasn't able to boot consistently every single time. So I ended up just sticking with the 128 stick and was able to find on eBay very, very cheap a second stick of the exact same RAM. So I grabbed that real quick, and that actually arrived this morning, so we can pop that in today. So yes, this motherboard I haven't actually tested as yet. We'll probably save that for another video now, so we'll do an AMD build. The reason I'm not too fussed about it right now, although I would definitely prefer to use this on, that K6 chip is a pretty cool chip. It does not have any AGP slots, so I wouldn't be able to use our Banshee 128 in there. So I have ended up using the Pentium board for that reason, more than anything else. So at some point we will go through the AMD build at some point, but right now we're going to be getting this Windows 98 machine up and running. So we'll put away all of our spare parts. And what I want to do now is give this a bit of a clean and then have a look at the cases that we have available, and see whether or not we want to get those into one of those cases, and I'll be able to show you exactly what this machine can do. So let's get the cleaning stuff. Tiny little brush. Da, 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 da. I thought I had a toothbrush. Okay, well, we have various paint brushes and such, that should be enough. Let's get this clean. Just cheapy pound shop brushes I tend to use, and of course, speaking of cheapy and pound shop, we have our compressed air as well. So actually this compressed air is not bad, so literally Poundland, £1 a tin. It does have a tendency to come out a bit liquidy, so I always give it a good shake and spray it far away from what I'm going to be spraying it onto at first, so I don't get too much liquid on the circuitry. But between a combination of these various janky bits and pieces, whoops, we should be able to get this machine nice and clean for you. Okay, so first things first, we need to give the main board a bit of a clean down. Pop all the other components to one side. Now you can see here there's some real murky areas on there. So those obviously we're going to want to get the worst off. Okay, and as we can see straight away from spraying that, that is very caked on. That's hardly done anything at all. So we'll get a little brush. Not sure what this little brush is. This is just one that I had in my kit. We'll just get the worst. Now, some of these bits you probably need to be careful with. I'm using, as I say, just some rubbishy Poundland brushes and things, so they might have a tendency for bristles to fall off. As long as you just sort of pay attention to what you're doing and just double check that things aren't falling off, you should be fine. At the moment, I'm not intending to use any sort of liquid on here. The main reason being that isopropyl alcohol is really expensive right now, obviously with a lot of cleaning and alcohol-based products, being in high demand due to the current global situation. So I won't be spraying this with anything, I don't think. I do have somewhere some screen cleaner, which is not, perfect for PCBs and things, but it does work. Wow, so you can see, just cleaned that one there. See how white, and then all of these other ones I've got on the top there. So let's just get in there. Get that nice clean. Obviously it would be nice to have proper contact cleaner and all that kind of stuff, but that's the kind of stuff I haven't got around to picking up yet. At the moment I decided I was going to, get into this in a bit more of a regular capacity, cleaning out computers and making videos for you guys and, diving deeper into the hobby than I have before. All hell broke loose, and I've been unable to get lots of the supplies that I would like to have. But, it also shows that, hey, you don't need all that stuff to get the satisfaction of giving a computer a clean. It's not, super shiny, magic, brand new. I'm not recapping the board or retro brighting plastics or doing anything that exciting, but it just goes to show that, a couple of Poundland brushes and away you go. That'll get any dust out of your slots, so to speak, and it'll really, allow you to have some of that satisfaction of a job well done without having to spend all that money on the official tools of the trade. Anyway, I'm rambling. This is a clean motherboard. I'm going to say, looking at that, that looks pretty good to me. So we'll just get a bit of compressed air and we'll just spray the slots. Oh, that's exactly what I was scared of. really does come out. So you do have to be careful with this Poundland stuff because it really can spray quite a lot of propellant, which obviously is very, very cold if you get it on your hands, and also can damage the components. So, not sure I'd recommend that. I have used it for bits and pieces in the past, but as you can see, it does project a scary amount of propellant out. So I think we're going to call that motherboard clean enough. Next up is our Pentium, not AMD processor, which, you know, pretty obvious as it says Arvid and not AMD, but hey, some idiots might be confused by that. So, I think straight away I'm just going to go for some spray. Yep, that is also absolutely caked on. So I think we're going to have to remove this fan. Get my screwdriver head out. There we go. So this fan, you may have seen in the little sort of intro bit that I did actually put some different fans in on the test bench when I was getting this working. The reason for that was that, well, this fan, this tiny little fan, is super loud and super annoying. So I put in a larger, quieter fan that can do the job for me. And I also ended up putting a fan on the graphics card because that thing is super hot. Whether or not it is just a super hot piece of kit or there's actually something up with that card with it being old, something that I'll need to keep an eye on. But with an extra cooler just nearby, you know, just an extra normal case fan, certainly did the trick. So you can see here we have some lovely muck build-up, which we can just get out using this spongy thing. It's quite good actually, this sponge. You can see my mat is getting very dirty. This mat is actually also from Poundland. I do a lot of shopping at Poundland. I mostly just have it so I've got a soft surface to put things down on, provides a bit of protection for the table, and also it gives me a good idea of what the cameras can see. You know, so that's the main reason I have this mat down here. I'm not too worried about it getting messy. Again, just get into all the pieces. I'm not going to bother. I mean, I guess if I was real sensible, I could take the heatsink off and reapply thermal paste and, oh dear. So yeah, as you can see, it's not the toughest of equipment in the world. I would definitely recommend getting, you know, a proper pack of cleaning brushes if you've got the budget for it. You know, otherwise just regular paintbrushes will do the trick. I think as well I've got makeup brushes, you know, old makeup brushes that the missus has donated. You give them a real good clean, you can use them as well because they're nice and soft and generally don't fall apart because, you know, ladies want good quality brushes for makeup, so makeup brushes tend to be, even at the cheaper end, pretty good quality. So, get some compressed air under there. Oh. So yeah, so all the sort of like the original labelling, Fox Computer Systems, etc. I'm gonna keep on there because I think that stuff is quite fun. So yeah, I won't bother putting this fan back on. I will just give it a little clean because it will go in the fan box. It's quite a handy little size of fan for future retro projects. Ugh, look at that. So that'll do for now for a fan I'm not going to use. That can go over there. And that's the processor cleaned up as well. We're getting somewhere. So, sound card. Now, this Sound Blaster PCI 128, which when I pulled it out I said was going to be a cool addition to the system, has certainly worked out pretty well for me. It's got the MIDI support that I would want. It's got the FM support that I would want. I can boot up Doom or Duke Nukem or any of those sort of, FM and MIDI era games that combine the two very well. And I get good sound effects and I get good MIDI music as well. I had quite a few problems getting it installed. One of which was due to the particular model number of this PCI 128. So you can see there that the model number is CT4700. This particular one had an older driver than the various other models. So what is good is that Creative do have... Excuse me. So yeah, what's great is that Creative do have their old support pages up, so you can still find all the drivers, bits and pieces for this hardware. But with the Sound Blaster PCI 128, there are so many different models and there are so many different browser packages. I ended up having to, driver packages rather, I ended up having to scroll down until I found one that actually said for this specific model number. Most of the other ones are for 75X, so... they're sort of 750 and up. Whereas this one is supported, you just have to find the drivers. But then after that, one of the problems I had was that I installed the graphics card first, and oh dear, don't want to use that anymore. And upon installing the sound driver, the graphics card stopped working. Also, the drivers as well just stopped working. So yeah, the sound card and the graphics card drivers just completely stopped working. So sound card just went all back down to 640. Lost all my color depth, and the computer was just acting like neither were installed. I think I may have complicated things by messing around because I was trying to install what I didn't know at the time were incompatible driver packages. So what I didn't know at the time were incompatible driver packages, and they were saying, oh, no Sound Blaster installed, which I thought was odd wording, no Sound Blaster hardware installed, which I sort of took to mean, okay, maybe you need to make Windows understand it's a Sound Blaster, so I installed like the Microsoft Sound Blaster compatible driver, and I think that just caused even more problems. So once I ended up on a second install of Windows 98 because I wanted to switch out the drive because the hard drive that came from this computer was way too loud. I then did a second installation and I installed sound card first, then the graphics drivers, and everything worked exactly as expected. That may well have been the case if I'd have done it the other way around, because it may have been me messing around trying to get this installed in the first place that caused the problems. But yep, again, I'm going to say that's clean enough. Let's just get the boring old network card out of the way. So this is probably a more recent addition to the machine, a Linksys. So yeah, I mean this machine will at some point sort of permanently go on my home network here. I have like a file server and various switches and routers that form my home network. This Windows 98 machine will go on it simply because it means I can dump files on it from a proper machine. I would say if you are ever going to set up a Windows 98 machine in your house, then keeping it offline, off your network, unless you do know enough about your network configuration to be able to prevent it from getting online, it's probably best not to connect it up, unless you do know how to do that. It is fairly straightforward to do that. If you look up your router model number, you'll soon be able to find out how to block a specific computer from going online. But it's really important, obviously, if you've got retro computers on your home network, they become, quite an exposed attack vector. If there was any malicious shenanigans, which again, I mean, it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely anyone's going to be trying to get into my network for whatever reason. But if they were, I would just prefer that peace of mind to know that that Windows 98 machine is in no way exposed to the outside world, and is only exposed to me when I want to dump files onto it. So that's why I have gone with a network card, even though in theory I wouldn't recommend connecting up to the network. Nope. So finally, again, the Creative Banshee 3D Blaster. Fantastic card. So this supports the 3DFX chipset, supports all the 3DFX drivers and such like. So I have played so far. Just notice that actually looks a bit dark on the back of that there. Hopefully that's not an indication of anything. Now this card, I think maybe I am just going to give it a quick spray because it's a little bit dirtier on the back than I would like. So yeah, with something like this, I'll just use the tiniest bit of moisture, simply because I want to get this dust off. And then I'm just going to wipe it gently down with this microfiber, trying not to catch it too much on the pins and such. Now that's better. So yeah, again, it's just to get the worst of the dust off the back. So yeah, this again, very easy to install. Straight to the Creative website. Downloaded the drivers for it. There's also a Voodoo update and a 3DFX update, I think, as well, that I downloaded. I'm not sure. I have installed them. I don't know if I encountered anything that would have required them. I don't believe so. Those two updates anyway, just the base file was enough. So my only complaint about this is how hot it was getting under just this heatsink. So that's something that we can look at in terms of thermal performance. And, if I am going to need to do more than just put a big fan pointing at it, to be honest, I don't think I will need to do any more than that. So this is the Windows 98 machine that I've decided to build from the two computers that we took apart in part one. So for the next part of the video, we're going to pop this back together. I'm going to decide on a case for it. I'm just going to pop this back together as a test bench for now, and we can have a look at how that's actually performing and all that kind of stuff. So we'll be taking it back over to the main computer and still running it on the test bench. In part 3 of this series, we will be putting this in a case and getting it all set up to be my final Windows 98 machine, which will then find a space somewhere in here where it's relatively accessible. So let's pop this back together. We'll pop our extra RAM in too. Let's go and have a little look at that. And in the post, I have one of the IDE to trans flash, whatever they're called, compact flash adapters. So I will be able to use this. Hopefully this will be compatible because it's the only one I've got in the house. We'll be able to use this as a hard drive for this. I'm kind of in two minds about that. So most retro computer guys, gals will use that method. It's a very simple way of getting very cheap removable storage for something like a Windows 98 machine. You can just drop your Windows 98 operating system on there, your games or whatever, plug it in, and away you go. It also means you can switch out operating systems. So hey, if you want it to be a Windows XP machine today or Windows ME or whatever, you can just put them on there. So that's great. What you do lose is the fantastic sound of an olden days hard drive, which when we plug it all back in, we'll have a listen to, and you can decide for yourself whether you think that it's a worthy sacrifice to get that silence. Because personally, I think such a huge part of the nostalgia is the whirring and whizzing and clicking of that old hardware. So that's enough ruminating. Let's get to the restoration. Let's just get rid of these out of the way. So I'll hoover up later. Whoops. Okay. So, now I should have done this right at the beginning. I should probably plug in myself. Now, hopefully I haven't been handling these in too much, as I completely forgot about getting myself grounded. So it's very important that you, when handling hardware, I realise I've just done 20 minutes of a video where I totally haven't done so, but you should wear an anti-static wristband and have yourself grounded. So my one, if you can see that, it's literally just plugs into the ground pin on a plug, and then I just plug that straight into a normal socket. You can clip them to an on power supply, so as in a power supply that's been switched on at the switch but not actually fully turned on with a fan spinning. You can clip it to something like that or anything else that's grounded. For me personally, it was pretty easy just to plug one into the wall. You know, if you've got a spare plug or something, that's something you can do very, very easily. Though again, I'm not going to make any sort of recommendations as to how or why you would want to wire yourself into the mains route, you know, of your house. This is completely safe as it is connected only to the ground pin, and those other two pins are completely not in there. But you know, I still would absolutely not recommend anyone do that themselves, unless you obviously make sure you know what a ground pin is and how, you know, this is all wired up. Please, you know, don't electrocute yourself, because, you know, someone on the internet said that you should definitely wire yourself into the mains, because I definitely didn't say that. Right. So, let's pop this back together. Oh, first off, let's grab that second stick of RAM. Hold up. Hey. So yes, I ordered a matching stick, which has very nicely been wrapped up in this Cadbury chocolate from Christmas. So gives it a nice chocolatey smell, which, you know, as a vegan is something I miss. Although, you know, probably as a vegan I should complain, because apparently we love to do that. So, this is my second stick of the Dane Elec DP100-064-163A RAM. Also smells like chocolate. So yeah, I don't know what the story with this PC was. It must have been upgraded at some point with compatible RAM, but what it meant was that it had ended up with a weird cross-section of different frequencies and timings and stuff, so, you know, the RAM just didn't get on all that well with the other sticks. I'm hoping that with this one in there, we'll have a nice 256 meg of bootable RAM. That's the first stick. Does it matter? Probably not. I don't think this RAM is like dual channel or anything, but I'm in the habit of putting them in separate sockets, so we'll put them in separated sockets. Put the processor back in. So out of all the parts, this processor is probably the part I like putting in the least. Is literally just like crunch it down, get it in. It's not, you know, there's nothing particularly refined about that clip mechanism. Graphics card in my AGP1 slot. So that's something I discovered after installing this machine, is that AGP 2 times are the other way around to AGP 8 times. Not sure if I've got a board kicking around I can show you. Hang on. Yeah, so this slot here is literally the other way round on the later revision of AGP. So it wouldn't go in that way, but it totally would fit in this way. Like it is actually a dead fit but would obviously be facing the wrong way, so isn't a dead fit. But yeah, I didn't realise that. So I've never dealt with hardware. I mean, I probably have dealt with hardware this old, but not since I was little. So, you know, I didn't really know what was going on. I was just like, well, that bit plugs into that bit. I didn't really think anything about it. You know, I didn't know about different standards of connection, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's a pro tip for you. You cannot test older AGP cards in newer AGP motherboards because the slots are the wrong way around. So you live and learn. So this was the original test bench that was going to be used, much more modern components than this, but unfortunately couldn't test anything with it. What's really great about networking this Windows 98 machine is that this plug-in adapter occupies slightly too much space and sticks out over my server door, so I have to do something about that. It's a fascinating video, isn't it? So yeah, that's that. Done. Sound card. Pop it in this bottom slot here just because that's the one it's installed to, and you know, it gives enough room for cooling of the other components. Okay, so essentially that is the computer with 256 megs of RAM. So for now, these fans are just going to sit somewhere. Let's tidy up by plugging them both into the same. Going there too. So essentially, yeah, I just have a fan right there blowing air directly over this, and another fan right here blowing air directly over that, and they can literally just sit there for now. Once I decide on a case, we will be popping those in properly. So let's get this over to the testing zone. And we'll plug it in, we'll show you how it boots, and we'll have a brief look at the performance of it. And then we can have a look at the cases, and perhaps you, the viewers, or viewer, plural's probably wishful thinking, can help me decide which out of the three nice beige boxes I have we should use on this one. So, without further ado, let's get back to the testing zone. Approaching testing zone. Approaching. Becoming embarrassed that I chose to do this voice. Quick, stop the cameras. Stop them. You've gone mad. Reset.